Alright, what is poppin', people? We're back with more Cap. And today we got a familiar opponent. I believe I played carbonic dioxide in what was it, week 5 of Cap Snake Draft? And I beat him 2-1 that week. That was the great that was the great game of let me try my very best to lose to the opponent's Calm Mind Clefable, as I just ignore the fact that I have multiple Pokemon that can just stop it from setting up. That was a very interesting week. Now, what was I thinking going into this series? Well, my first thought was, surely I finally get C-teamed, right? Because I had brought Swords Dance, Scale Shot, Garchomp multiple times, and like pretty actively talked about how I would continue bringing it in the Cap room chat as well. Because I'm like, okay, I don't care if you know what I'm bringing. Because at the end of the day, someone can C-team me all they want. I will find ways to exploit the ways that they're going to try to C-team me. And so as you look at my opponent's team, yeah, they C-teamed. They've C-teamed Scale Shot Chomp. They've got Mandibuzz, which lives a single hit from +2 Chomp, and an Oko's of Foul Play. They've got Argonaut, which is a Cap Pokemon that has the ability Unaware, so, I can't boost past that. And they have a Fairy type, so I can't, reasonably expect to get Scale Shots off. Now, fortunately, it's a Tapu Koko, a mon that doesn't really want to switch into Chomp anyhow, but I still have to be cognizant of it as a threat. So, what were my thoughts going into this series with that knowledge? What if I just don't bring Scale Shot Chomp in a standard form? Or what if I don't bring standard Chomp? So this first game, I brought Protox, Whirlpool, Trapper, Garchomp alongside a Bulk Up Cinderace. Did it work? Well, let's see. So, on the leads, we get Koko versus Garchomp. Now, right here. Now, when I see Koko, I just always assume specs, but I didn't want to reveal my set early, right? I gained very little from revealing what my Chomp runs. And turn 1, there are still several sets my Chomp could be. I could be Stealth Rock, I could be Scale Shot, because I have the other Pokemon in the team to, bluff other things. Tomahawk could just be Spin, and this could be like a Choice Scarf Tapu Fini or a CM Fini. Or this could be, Defog here, Prankster Haze here, Rocks here. You get the idea. So I'm going to hard switch into my, I believe, Glowking here, because I know Glowking can take any hit. I don't have to worry. So I get the bad double, but I have a Fini, so I don't really ever worry about the Mandibuzz. And right here, I get to fire off a free Moonblast. I get this Attack Drop. This is really helpful, because it lets me go to my Chomp really freely. I don't worry nearly as much about an attack, and just to make sure everyone is aware of how Future Sight works in current gens, and I think maybe last gen as well. The boosts that you have when you use it, or no, that's how it used to work. The boost that you had when you used it, that is no longer how it works. Now it is whatever boost your Pokemon has at the time of it going off, if I'm remembering correctly. So I force him to switch immediately out. Because if he stays in versus me and maybe tries to just or I don't know why he'd ever stay in. But say that I brought in something that couldn't threaten to Oko him with an Earthquake, it'd be bad for him to stay in because his Future Sight's not going to do damage. And of course, he can't boost because he's Assault Vest. Now, I Earthquake here, and then I Toxic. I figured at this point, if I want to try to go for game with maybe Rillaboom just beating his team down, because outside of Mandibuzz, his Rillaboom switch-ins aren't great. I figure this is Rock's Chomp on his team, but that could still be Rock's SD. So it doesn't mean that he's defensive Chomp, and given this core here, I figured probably not. So this gives me a good time, maybe even with Bulk Up Cinderace doing something. I also just don't figure that I need the health too much, and I'm also fine at this point for just revealing my set. That's how I Protect. And I go Glowking. I honestly expected it to be Specs, but he's not. He's just Boots. That still is good for me to know. And as we see here, this is indeed a Swords Dance Garchomp. but it doesn't break anything on my team. I know he's gonna scale shot here. He knows I'm Intimidate, so I don't get to run Haze, or I could, but I'm not going to be. And this makes it really easy for me to just pivot around between my Feeny and my Tomahawk. Chomp doesn't really want to try to contest with those. And since I have Misty Terrain up as well, I can always go hard Chomp whenever this Galar King is out. He can't threaten me with a burn, he can't threaten me with a poison. And his attacks aren't really going to do much anyway to me. So that's cool. Now I do miss a Whirlpool here. He's U-turn Mandy, so it's not like I'm trapping him. But it would have been a little bit extra chip, you know? And then, yeah, I don't have a good switch-in on this turn, so my shit gets absolutely rocked. It was a really rough turn for me. But the thing to keep in mind is the following. I have a CB Adamant Rillaboom. His Mandibuzz is at 70%. At this point, my entire goal of this game is to try to find a way to get my Rillaboom in versus this Mandibuzz. Now here he goes Cinderace. I think that was a misplay. I personally think he needed to go Mandy and just look for a Roost. Because, like, what does Cinderace do? You could fish for a Gunk Poison, I guess. I go Phoenix, I expect Pyro Ball to come out first, because I just don't imagine him gunking with the Glow-King out in front of him. Like, it's a potentially really risky play for him to go for. And I'm a double into Hawk, because I know here he's got a Gunk Shot. Obviously, I still risk a Poison. Is this the one that poisons me? No. But I know that I could always die, and I finally get Rocks up. This is helpful. Mostly because just any little chip that I can get onto, like, this is just helpful to make sure that it's kept in range. And as you're seeing here, because I got just enough chip off on the Mandy, my Boomer is able to take it out and still survive a Future Sight, which is super good for me. Still fades to Rocks, but my opponent never managed to get Stealth Rock up this game. So that ends up being really helpful. And you're going to see him get a Poison here. It doesn't really matter, because he's not Zen Headbutt. So I could pretty freely always go out to my Tomahawk, and I don't have to really ever worry about the Cinderace taking me out. And in some ways, it's also nice that this is a regular poison and not a toxic poison, because it means that I can spam Roost fairly safely versus the Ace and not worry too much. Now, I do have to worry about the Chomp. I have to make sure that I play, like, still pretty aware of what Chomp can do for the rest of the game. And you're going to see me, unfortunately, get poisoned. But he lost his only ground immune, and his only, like, way of taking on ground type attacks. And I figure he probably doesn't want to go Argonaut, because it may just end up seeding a free switch-in for, like, Feeny. And he has Glow-King, but it's not a mon that you really want to go into, I feel, much of the time. Because I've got a lot of mons that can very easily come in versus it on doubles that end up giving him a lot of issues. Like if he goes Glow-King and then I go into Rillaboom, well, that's not a good switch for him. If he goes Glow-King, I can potentially get Chomp back out because he's not going to KO me. So I just feel like generally safe regardless around that. And you're going to see me win both, or not both the speed ties, but win a speed tie versus the Garchomp. For some reason, despite running this whack set, I'm still just offensive Chomp. And I'm not too sure that's the best idea, but it worked out well in testing, so I kept it. Let's go Cinderace here. I am going to still go Tomahawk. I want to be able to reserve the Chomp for sack. And it's also just really nice to keep around, given he's got 3 ground-weak Pokemon left. I don't really see a reason to sack it too early. Now, I believe I actually do go to it here. No, I go to my own Glow-King. This is still good for me because I can Future Sight pretty freely versus his team. Now, the shitty part here is I don't have a great way to directly switch into this unless I want to just sack my Garchomp, which I end up doing. I start throwing it out on the turn Future Sight hits. This does give me my Rillaboom here. What I end up doing this turn is I calc to see if Woodhammer would just KO standard. Oh, I didn't pause. But I wanted to see if Woodhammer would OHKO this from where it was at, and it would, so I go for it. And he goes out to Coco to sack it. And this is just nice because it gives him one step closer, not worrying about things outspeeding Ace. He has the Argonaut, but if I have Future Sight support behind Ace, ever, then he's not going to have a good time. And again, we're going to get these unfortunate sequences where anytime I try to go Hawk versus Ace, he can pretty freely switch into his Glow-King and get the Future Sight off. And we are getting to a point where it is kind of awkward for me as the player, or the opponent, 2 match into that combo. Now, fortunately for me, I do get the burn here, and this is mostly just helpful, because at this point, my only way of muscling past this Glow King is the Cinderace. And so I need to make sure that I can keep this thing lower on HP, just so it never has a chance of, like, winning game. He's gonna make an interesting play here. He's gonna, go Ace, predicting me to Moonblast again, but I actually just Scald it there. And that's gonna spell the end of the game. Because right here, I just get to go out to my Glow King. I get to very freely put a Future Sight up. And at this point, I can just go Ace, because he can't Oko me. He can't Argonaut here, because he'll just get popped by Future Sight. So he ends up having to sack this, or hope for a dodge, which he doesn't get. And now I just get to go Glow King again, throw off another Future Sight, because he can't KO me and knock off. And yeah, and as long as I hit a Hurricane, I win the game. And we're going to end up seeing that is what happens. In Hard Tomahawk here, he obviously can't KO me with anything. And I just have to hit this Hurricane. There it is. I don't think even if he recovered and got it off successfully that it would have mattered. I'm pretty sure Future Sight KOs from there. Yeah. And here, now we got game 2. Now game 2, again, I got hard C-teamed, and the really depressing part about it too is this is a Trace Jumbao as well. So I bring Sun. I want to spam Eruption with Heatran, but I never can because there's a Jumbao. I want to go for game maybe with Garchomp. He's got double Fairy, so that's not very likely happening. I want to, you know, set up with Venusaur. Well, there's not a limited pool of Pokemon I can set up versus, but still can be a little bit annoying if one of, well, not this one, but if this is ever out, I kind of just am forced to immediately Earth Powering it. Now, an unfortunate thing about this team as well is I am Swords Dance, Scale Shot, Earthquake, Toxic on my Garchomp. Really would have liked to not have that in this game. You're going to see why very late into the game. But anyhow, I'm going to lead Victini. I don't have to worry about anything on his team outspeeding it because I'm pretty sure that he's Choice Scarf on his Jumbao. You know, if he leads that, then I can V-create or just still U-turn out and then go into literally, like, most of the other things on my team. The Mon does not have a good full coverage. He Swords Dance turn 1, and that was very funny to see. Yeah, that's just still a free foul play. And the nice thing about this Vandabuzz is no matter what Garchomp uses, if I'm at full, he is not Okoing me without a crit. And we're going to see right here the unfortunate reality of this game as the Jumbao switches on my Heatran, and I go for Eruption, and yeah. Now, me, being the very intelligent user I am, knowing he's going to Focus Blast, I go into a Pokemon that does not resist Focus Blast, despite having both a Victini and a Venusaur. Now, you could say Venusaur, you know, I'm not Sludge Bomb, I'm Weather Ball, Giga Drain, Earth Power. Can't hit that, and maybe I don't want too much chip on Victini. You know, maybe I shouldn't risk losing my Sunsetter early? Yeah, I don't know. Anyhow, I'm going to dodge multiple Focus Blasts in a row. I'm going to set Rocks. His passive damage is nice, and you're going to see, I get rocked. At the time, I didn't think anything of this Focus Blast damage. Not gonna lie, I just assumed that Torkoal's Spadef was that bad. No, he specs Jumbao. And we're gonna see that end up mattering a little bit later on in this game, where, I won't spoil it, but yeah, he does a little bit too much damage for my liking. But obviously, I got a free growth here, and we're gonna look at my opponent's team real quick. What is the Venusaur counterplay? If you said there is not really any, then yeah, you're correct. I'm gonna Weather Ball this, and it's gonna faint. Now, he's actually gonna go into his Jumbao here. I don't know why I switched. Like, or did I switch? Yeah, I don't know why I switched there. Like, looking back at this, that switch was very pointless. Because I don't think he KOs with Moonblast. You know? Maybe he does. But anyhow, I know he has to Moonblast at the least. And so I do still have a pretty safe switch into Tran here. And yeah, this Pex is gonna try to sit in front of me and recover. It's not going very well for him. Earth Power is out damaging his Toxapex's recovery. And so I get to just keep attacking forever. And then he gives me chip on chomp, which is really helpful. And by really helpful, I mean it doesn't matter. So, yeah, so here's why we like Mandy. I get to go into it, I get to eat up the Stone Edge, and I get to even survive Rough Skin. This is just generally nice because I get to preserve a sack. And by preserve a sack, I mean now he has to go to Lottle and waste a turn attacking, but you get what I mean. Now I get my Garchomp out. And I was kind of wondering if he was going to be unaware Clefable on this team. Magic Guard's better 99.5% of the time, but there was part of me saying, well, but what if? Because I was honestly really kind of worried about the C team. And I even was talking with friends and I was like, yo, I could just bring Poison Jab, Garchomp, and not care about half the C team options. Would have been really good this game. Would have actually, I think, just won multiple points. But that's the side point. I know he's going to switch to Pex here, so I'm just going to throw off a trick. And this makes this Toxapex very, very useless. Now, unfortunately for me, I make a pretty dumb decision here. I go Torkoal, and I just kind of sack it to the Scald. Now, this still gives me Venusaur. I actually Weather Ball there because I expected him to switch to Jumbao for some reason. That was also kind of a pretty dumb play from my end. I think there were a few sloppy turns this game from my end. And again, now he gets to go Jumbao. For certain, at this range, it actually does matter. I'm going to go to my Victini. I'm going to eat the Moonblast up pretty well, fortunately. And right here, this is a very free U-turn for me. Because he has to go Lottle every time. And it gives me Venusaur again. And, yeah, he doesn't have a switch in. Now, unfortunately, Astrolotl is very bulky, so it does live it. But it also gives me Heatran as my next switch in. And I Solar Beam there because I know it's going to get damage, offers anything, and he unfortunately gets him to Jumbao. Now, here he's obviously forced to Focus Blast. We can always go into our Victini. But then we see this. Why is he Trace Jumbao with Solar Beam? I don't know. But he was. Fortunately for me, I now know he's locked into that. So I get a free Eruption here. And Tran don't fuck around. And then I get a very interesting damage roll here. Earth Power KO'd. Now, Eruption Tran, that power of Eruption was like 120 something. I think it was 126 if I'm remembering what I saw while hovering it. But, you know? Well, actually, wait, let's do math. 126 with Stab is 189. Earth Power is 95, yo. Math checks out. Makes sense. Anyhow. Now, here's where we get the sequence of this thing being specs and my Chomp set being maybe not the best. You know, I would have really liked Stone Edge this game, for instance, or even, again, the talked about Poison Jab. So, we're gonna die to Focus Blast. I don't think it KOs. If he's Scarf, I might be wrong. But this is what really matters. So I Earthquake, and the toxic damage is really helping. That does too much. If he's Scarf, that does 46, and then I am fine. I am more than fine. Right here, I'm like, oh, I actually just lose, right? But then, my boy Too Spoopy for You speaks into existence a dodge. It's actually not luck, by the way. Hitting 2 focuses in a row is less than a 50% chance, so I deserve the win. And as I also said this, deserve for not being Scarf Bow, GG. What can I say? I just kind of just took that as the gods of luck repaying me for my really shitty luck that I got back in my Snake tiebreaker game versus Stresh. I finally benefited from the stupid coin flip. Anyhow, this series was very interesting. And I don't know if I mean that in a good or a bad way, frankly. This game was there were some things about this game. And like I said, I feel like I maybe got a little bit too in my head out of the worry of someone C-teaming me. Like, I don't know. I think I should have just been another attack on this. Now, given that I probably would have been Fire Fang on this, since I was running it on a Sun team, that wouldn't have been the best decision. And obviously it would not have helped for this game, given that my opponent was going to have traced Flash Fire. So I was always going to have to try to hit Earthquakes. I honestly think that me being toxic this game was really what won me it. only because it meant that I got a lot of chip on bow. Maybe the toxic damage didn't matter. I'd have to look through the replay and add up how much poison damage actually did during that end sequence. But let's pretend like it actually helped. I hope you guys enjoyed. I think this was round 4, so now I have made it to round 6 because hashtag winners bracket. And now I get to look forward to not having to play Cap for 2 more weeks. Isn't that exciting? I hope you guys keep enjoying your day. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.